Hello everyone, welcome back to the Kia Hyundai channel. My name is Gabi and right behind me is Kia's best-selling vehicle, the Kia Seltos. Now this is the 2026 model year, which is a carryover from last year. I know a lot of people ask about it. In today's video, we're doing a full in-depth walkthrough of everything you get on the LX model with the available all-wheel drive. Now if you are someone who's shopping for front wheel, fear not. Everything you see here today, except for one little button, will be exactly the same. So you can watch this video and get familiar with your new ride. We're going to start off with the front end and the exterior, where we'll also talk powertrain, then we'll work our way on the inside of the vehicle, talk the tech, talk the layout, and of course the comfort controls. Now the best part about doing this as a live stream is whoever's watching in real time, and as I can see, there's 18 of you, 19, it's going up. You can ask me questions in real time about the car. So whether you're a Seltos owner or you're just curious, let me know and we'll dedicate a few minutes towards the end simply to going over our viewer questions. If you're watching this in the future and have a question, leave it in the comments below. I check them every single day. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll start off again on the front end, and price point wise, the LX model in all-wheel drive is $27,895 Canadian. Now, to get the all-wheel drive, you'll spend an additional $2,000 on top of the MSRP. So that is where the $27,895 comes from. Front-wheel drive will be, Adam, $25,895. You got it. On the front end of the vehicle, we have a beautiful satin silver front embellishment surrounding your grille. So the housing has some nice materials. It's not a vehicle that's fully cladded in plastic. We got some style points, and the Seltos looks good. We also have a very traditional SUV-like approach in the overall design. Even from its side profile, you'll notice that this vehicle rides a bit taller like a traditional SUV. Its closest competitor is the Hyundai Kona, which certainly looks a bit more like a crossover, a little bit more squished in, if that makes sense. So if ride height and, of course, overall headroom shape is what you're after, this may be the car for you, but we'll talk more about that later. For our headlamps, we have regular halogen projection lights. Now, whenever we have a projection, essentially what that means is instead of a MFR or multi-reflection light, it's a little bit more focused on where the light beam is. So as far as visibility goes, it may not be a bright white LED, but it's still sharp and you can still see exactly where you need to go. One of my favorite things about halogens too is they do emit a little bit of heat. So because this car's lights have been on for a little while now, the housing is a bit warm. What that means come wintertime is snow and ice tends to melt off on this vehicle by itself. Now you should still clear the snow off your entire car, but if more snow is building up, you're driving in heavy snow, it melts off a little bit. So it's like a self-headlight cleaning system in a way. As far as safety goes, we have a good amount of standard technology on the Seltos. So I'll list them off for you and also give a little bit of an explanation for them too. While I do that, I'll also pop the hood because we're talking powertrain next. Standard on the Seltos will have forward collision avoidance. So essentially, there's a camera in the center of your windscreen, right over there, that watches what's happening ahead of you. If someone were to cut you off and slam on the brakes and you didn't react as a driver, the vehicle will warn you first with an audible alert, which can scare you a little bit, and then it will apply brake force to avoid a collision. So it does have active safety functions. We also have lane keeping and lane following assist. So that same very camera in the windshield watches the lanes and will alert you with a beep inside the cabin and also some gentle correction to keep you centered. Now, if you are someone who never signals their lane changes, you will absolutely hate this. The car will always beep at you. But there's also a separate function called lane follow. This essentially reads those same lanes, sees bends or changes in the road, and steers into them. So instead of making all those micro corrections all the time while you're driving, especially if you have a bad alignment like me, the car handles that for you. If you still had to avoid something like a pothole or let's say a garbage can that flew onto the road, if I maneuver the wheel myself as a driver, the car will still always listen to me. It's just a gentle correction. Now let's talk powertrain. So on the LX model, you'll have a 2-liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder. This engine produces 147 horsepower with 132 pound-feet of torque, and it does it efficiently. So although we have a spacious cabin and a generally good-sized vehicle, we get 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers combined, so that's highway and city driving. Not bad at all. Matter of fact, it is not far off from my front-wheel drive Kia Forte, which is a much smaller sedan. I don't have that car anymore, but I miss its fuel efficiency. So this vehicle does not consume that much more fuel than a front-wheel drive sedan. Also, when it comes to fuel economy, really depends how you drive. If you're heavy on the throttle, you can expect it to see a little bit worse. Or if you're easy on the car, you can see it do better. Next thing I want to talk about is the transmission. While I can't show you the transmission, let's work our way over to the wheels because they drive them. So the transmission on this car is an IVT, that stands for Intelligent Variable Transmission. You may have heard of CVTs in the past, and you probably heard a lot of negative things about them. An IVT operates very similar to a CVT in the sense that it is extremely efficient and finds a perfect gear for whatever kind of driving you're doing, but it improves upon the mistakes, and it's also mechanically different too. We'll have chains instead of our traditional belts. So we do have mechanical differences. A lot of people say, no, it's the same thing. They're not completely interchangeable. What this means for you, it operates like a regular automatic would. You put the car in drive, put it in reverse, put it in neutral. There is no clutch, there is no separate gear shifts you need to worry about, there's no paddle shifters. It operates like a regular automatic. For your wheels, the LX models will have a 17-inch alloy, regardless of if you're front-wheel drive or all-wheel, and a Kumo Solus tire. This tire is an all-season. We do all-seasons on just about all of our cars except for our high-performance vehicles, and they are not interchangeable with winter tires. I'll talk more about that later. Of course, when you get the all-wheel drive version of the Seltos, you'll also get all-wheel drive with the locking differential. This is a little different than some of our other all-wheel drive cars. Let me explain it to you. So this vehicle, if I'm driving on a regular sunny day and the pavement is dry, it operates largely in a front-wheel drive bias. However, if I accelerate hard from a standstill or I turn onto a gravel road, the vehicle will sense a little bit more force is needed and redistribute some power to the rear. Now, not a full 50-50 split typically. That's why inside the cabin we'll find a locking center differential button. Whenever I press that button, it'll create a full split from power to the front to power to the rear. Very, very helpful if you are someone who lives in areas where maybe snow doesn't get plowed that quickly, or you have a lot of hills that you need to climb when weather could be inclement. Now, don't use that 50-50 split or that lock diff button unless you really are in inclement weather, because it is not meant to be driven on regular dry terrain. So only use it if you really need it. Back to the winter tire debate though. Is winter tires necessary on an all-wheel drive vehicle? Yes. Well, I guess depending on where you live. If you're in Florida, maybe not. But here in Canada, winter tires are an absolute must if you are someone who drives frequently in the winter, because they don't take the job of all-wheel drive, if that makes sense. They're very good for two different things. All-wheel drive helps you get going, but it doesn't really do anything to help you stop. And as we know, when you drive in the winter, whether it's snow or ice, that reduces your brake mistake area by a lot. So you got to brake a lot earlier and a lot lighter, or else you will hit something. Winter tires are the only portion of your car that are actually in contact with the ground, so hopefully, unless you got anything hanging off your car. So getting a good tire that has deeper traction divots and sipes really helps you maintain contact with the ground, because all-wheel drive can't do anything if your tires are not creating grip with your surface. Again, it'll just keep spinning your wheels, you won't move anywhere. You need grip, and grip comes from the tires. All right, surrounding your wheels, we have a plastic-cladded wheel arch, great for Canadian roads where we have lots of debris, including salt come wintertime. You don't necessarily have to worry about all of that splatter going onto your paint, at least not in that area. Creates a little bit of a barrier. Your mirrors are body color with a turn signal indicator and a little bit of plastic cladding along the bottom too. On the reflective portion, or the actual mirror itself, that's where we'll see our blind spot detection, and that'll of course illuminate to give you a passive alert, letting you know there's someone in either your left or right blind spots, but it'll also beep if you're actively signaling and give you the gentle correction to stay in your lane if you try to change lanes while there's a car there. Great safety function to have, and it is standard on the Seltos. Your door handles are body color. Your side pillars, or mirror pillars, as well as the belt line of the vehicle are in that same black plastic cladding, so very scratch resistant. I had this debate earlier today where I was delivering a vehicle with a lot of shiny black. It shows scratches after a while, so this is far more resistant if you have kids, or you take your car through a car wash, or you just live life. This will hold up and look a little bit better in the long run. Coming up to the rear of the vehicle, we have our classic Seltos styling with our beautiful tail lamp bar expanding all the way across the rear. Now the lights themselves only stop illuminating here. This is simply just our red housing. And then we have our Kia emblem in the center. Seltos badging is on the bottom left side. And then for our camera, It's located right underneath the eye in Kia. I always like to point this out to owners when we do deliveries because come wintertime or even just driving in the rain, sometimes a little water bubble will stay there and distort your camera, or it'll get kicked up with salt. So it's good to know the location. That way your camera's clean. You can actually see out of it. For space, we have just over 752 liters of cargo space behind our rear seats. With your rear seats knocked down, that number transforms a lot. I think we're at, it's 1,200 liters of cargo space. The exact, I'm not sure off the top of my head because I'm not a robot, but it is a very impressive cargo capacity on this smaller compact SUV. Underneath the floorboard, you also have a real compact spare tire. So this is great peace of mind if you are someone who drives a lot. Again, in Canada, where we have construction projects all the time, nails, screws, everything's on the road. Knowing you can actually put a spare on if you do get a tire blowout is great peace of mind, and you also have 5 years unlimited kilometers of roadside assistance with a new Kia purchase. That sounds a lot like an ad, you guys. I mean, we do sell cars. If you are in the Brantford area, or if you're in Ontario, we deliver for free, but we can sell you a car, but that was not meant to be an ad. I will knock one side down so you can see what space is like when you have your rear seats folded. So there is a little bit of a height difference here. It's not anything major. If you had to camp in your car, I'm sure you could work with this. But yeah, definitely opens up the space quite a bit. These two seats will move down separately, so they're in a 60 portion, and then this is our 40, so a single side that folds. We'll work our way around to talk about the fuel tank. Now the fuel tank on this car is 50 liters, so not too large. It's not going to cost an arm and a leg to fill up. And your vehicle will get about 600 kilometers of range on a full tank. Actually, no, sorry, I lied. Not 600, 500 on this vehicle. Alrighty, I'm going to have Adam give a pan inside the cabin, and you guys can take a look at the materials before I hop in. So we'll get cloth seats on the LX versions with the same patterning in the insert. I like that they didn't make it all the same material. They added some fun, some design into it. Both of your front seats will be heated with 3 different levels. And with cloth seats, they often heat up a lot faster than leatherette or leather. So comfort-wise, you will be winning. You'll be winning quicker. They also get less hot come summertime. If you've ever sat in a car that's been baking in the sun for a few hours while parked and it's leather, not only does the metal part of the seatbelt sting you, sitting into the seat can hurt quite a bit. So this is a little bit more everyday safe. I'm going to point out the seat controls before I hop in. So we have height adjustment for the driver's seat, and then our backrest adjustment too. Of course, if you need to maneuver the seat forwards or backwards, they're on a rail for both the driver and passenger. So you just reach between your legs and then pull yourself either forwards or backwards. Steering wheel adjust too. It's a manual adjustment. So pull it out, lift it, whatever feels good, and then lock it back into place. Along the door card is where we'll find our fun speaker design. So very three-dimensional in its texture, almost looks like a mountainscape. I love this design for the speakers. There are 6 speakers throughout the car. We have our power mirrors. They're powered and heated, so come wintertime, you'll also be able to melt ice off of them. And then our express driver window. The door card itself is mostly all the same shade of black, but we do have a satin chrome door handle to brighten things up. Along my knee area, I have a brightness adjustment for my screens, our idle stop and go button. If I'd like to shut it off, I'll simply press this, and then our traction control. Your fuel door release is right down here. Might be a little hard to get on camera, but simply flip it up and your fuel door will unlock and open. I'm gonna have Adam come around now to the passenger side where we'll walk you through everything else regarding our screens and our safety. For airbags, the Kia Seltos has 6 airbags, and like I mentioned earlier, we have quite a bit of active safety functions or driver assistance functions. So things like that lane keep assist and lane follow assist I mentioned earlier, as well as forward collision, blind spot detection, and even rear cross traffic collision avoidance. Now I understand I didn't explain rear cross traffic, so let's have a little chat about it. Essentially, if I'm reversing my car and let's say I'm at the mall, peak holiday shopping time, if there's 2 massive vehicles beside me, it's going to be really hard for me to look back and see if anyone's walking up from behind them. So if they're directly behind me, I can see them through my back window. If they're behind the next car, probably not. This will let you know if there's someone coming, give you a warning, and apply brake force if necessary to avoid said collision. Your steering wheel is just our regular plastic steering wheel. It is not heated on this trim, but it is easily accessible. Just one trim level up if that's a must-have for you. The left-hand side has your voice commands, which when you have your phone linked, whether by Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, will instead be your Siri or Google Assistant. You have your volume control, our phone to answer, and then a favorites button. You can program this favorites button to do whatever you'd like, so I'm just going to go ahead and press it. And it jumps me to this menu on my main screen where I can set its function. Let's do home. And now if Adam pans a little wider, I'm going to press this home button and you'll see the screen change. There we go. Jumps to home now. Nice and easy. The right-hand side is for your driver assistance functions and just your displays. So the top right button turns on your cruise control. You'll set your speed with the plus and the minus, and then pause it or restart with the bottom right. This is not a smart cruise control, this is just regular. On the left, we have a button to turn on or off our lane centering and lane keeping assist. So with a quick press, it turns on lane following or centering, whatever you want to call it. And then if you press and hold the button, it turns on or off lane keeping assist. So quick press for follow, long press for the annoying lane keep. You guys might like lane keep. Maybe. Let me know in the comments if you actually do. I'm gonna remove those commenters as bots. Anyway, up at the top left, we have our screen control. So this button changes what's displayed on the gauge cluster. Every time I press it, it'll cycle me to the next menu. So this is our lane safety. We can also see our drive info. And from here, there's multiple pages. There's since refueling, there's accumulated, as well as our auto stop timer. Let's leave it right back to its defaults and then jump to our next. Now this next function is our user settings. User settings will allow you to make fine changes to your vehicle. So if there's ever a driver assistance function you're not a fan of, you can go ahead and either change the properties of it or disable it here. So let's jump into our warning here. This is lead vehicle departure alert, which chimes at you when the car ahead of you is left off. Really good for drive-thrus where you might not be paying attention. If I'm not a fan of that, unclicking this will remove that safety function and it's no longer active. I can always go back and turn it back on again, so you can't mess up your car here. You can only just fine-tune it to make it truly yours. Next, the last screen is our tire pressure, as well as our all-wheel drive torque distribution. So again, like I mentioned, this vehicle will automatically adjust its power levels. If I'm, again, on a dry road, regular weather, it's largely front wheel, and then if I move on over to a sticky situation, I'll see more power going to the rear. By pressing the locking diff, I will split it, so we will get equal power. On the right-hand side and the left-hand side, we have always-on readings of our speedometer and our tachometer, and we can change the color of this gauge cluster. So if you're not a fan of purple, do not worry, you are not stuck with it. The main head unit on this vehicle is an 8-inch display. This portion is the touchscreen. Like I said, you touch the screen and it jumps to where you touched. So under our setup, we can go ahead and pair new devices, adjust the sound settings, adjust the date and time, that kind of thing. What I know a lot of you guys are curious about is the Apple CarPlay Android Auto situation. So it's completely wireless on this car, meaning you don't have to bring a cable. And if someone else wants to pair their phone, you'll simply go through the setup process the same way. I'm going to show you guys what the setup process is. So there's a small widget on the right of the main page. By pressing this, I can add new, and then I will search on my phone's Bluetooth settings to see the Kia Seltos appear. Then you just pair the process. Same way you would pair a regular phone, same idea. As soon as your Bluetooth is connected, as long as your phone supports it, you can opt in or out of Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. The panels, or the housing of your screen, also has physical buttons. These are so handy because, you press it and it does exactly what it says. There's also another favorites button here that can do a separate function from the one I mentioned earlier on the steering wheel. There's a real volume knob and a real tune knob too. So if you are wearing gloves in your car, you can actually function, you can change things. And then underneath we have our air vents, our hazard lights, and then our climate control. Climate control is our standard, so bring it on over all the way to the left for maximum AC, and then anywhere in the middle for what you want, and then far right for maximum heat. The fan speed is controlled in this middle dial, and then the fan direction is on the far right. The AC and rear defrost buttons are right here, separated. I actually had a client of mine ask today why there is an AC button. Wouldn't just turning your dial all the way over to the blue, turn on the AC? And the answer is not specifically. If it's a cold day outside and I do that, yeah, the air will feel pretty breezy, pretty cool. But if it's a very hot day, that's not actually turning on the air conditioning system. So it's just going to be pushing air into your car, but that air is not cool. You know what I mean? You're not going to feel comfortable. So always make sure your AC button's on if the air isn't actually the temperature you thought you'd set it to. Now underneath, we have a small shelf. Very hard to film in this car because it's dark down here, but phones fit perfectly over here. Underneath, a 12-volt, a regular USB, and then a USB-C on the right for faster charging or modern phones. Gear shift, regular, automatic in operation like I mentioned earlier. And then our heated seat controls, 3 different levels for both. Your locking differential, so of course if you opt for the front wheel drive version, you will not have this button. And then we have our downhill braking assist. When your locking differential is on, you will have an icon appear in the gauge cluster. This is what it looks like. Just make sure that's not on by accident. If you just recently cleaned your vehicle and maybe pushed it down, you do not want to drive this vehicle regularly with it on, only if you are really stuck or in the snow or in the mud. I'll point out our drive mode select. So this little dial here, probably hidden from the camera by our gear shift, changes you between normal mode, sport mode, and smart mode, each of which will change the way the throttle responds to input and also your steering. So whatever you like best. There's really no right or wrong way to use drive modes. Sport mode might consume a bit more fuel because it'll allow you to be running your gears up a little bit higher. It's definitely going to sit a little bit higher in RPMs. Normal mode and smart mode are more so an economical way to drive, with smart mode adjusting between normal and sport based off what you're actively doing, and normal mode just being the car's regular operation. So it's going to shift gears a bit quicker to be more efficient and keep you at a lower RPM. Handbrake is manual, so you can impress your date with the little handbrake slide. And then we have our center console. Standard size, deep center console. You can pull this out. Sorry. Did I lie? Can you not do it anymore? You can't pull this out. Let's check out the back seats. That was embarrassing. On some of our vehicles, you guys can slide the upper portion of the center console forward to create a little bit more of an armrest. And I swear you could on the Seltos. Maybe it's only some trim levels and I've never tried it on the LX. Seltos owners, report back to me, let me know. All right, back seats. Now these seats are fixed in their amount of recline. You cannot adjust them further back. They're either all the way down or they're fixed. Very comfortable. The seats themselves are wide, so we have a good amount of space. Even your center seat, check this out. This is a wide center seat. Not even just for a compact SUV, I'm talking period. There's a lot of space over here. We do have rear air ducts for climate ventilation along the back, and I mean, that's about it. It's a simple back seat, but you know what? It works, it's comfortable, and it's not confined. I have a ton of headroom, seriously a ton. That's one entire Gabi hand, which if you didn't know, I have very long fingers, so that's a good measurement tool. I'll sit in the center so we can see what headroom's like in the worst seat in the house. And again, lots of space. Your feet will be slightly elevated because the drivetrain's running through. But if your passengers next to you are nice enough, maybe they'll let you take up some of their space. So comfortable back seat for sure. I'll quickly grab the camera from Adam to show you guys what the view is like from over here. Let's check that out. Simple design, but you know what I will say? When we have a design like this where we have proper buttons, not everything's adjusted on the screen, and everything's pretty symmetrical, it ages very well. And I'm not just talking about looks or aesthetics, I'm also talking about how it operates. When everything's controlled on a screen, I don't know if you guys have phones from, 5 or 6 years ago still using them or still having them. They slow down big time. The screens won't be as sensitive, it'll take a lot longer to load menus. So having proper physical buttons not only looks better come the long run, it also operates better. Much easier to press your heated seat button than find your screen that has climate and your heated seat control. I mentioned to you guys I would like to talk about what we can expect for the next generation of the Kia Seltos, or at least I thought I mentioned it, and I will get to that. First, I'm just going to do a few questions from the viewers to see what you guys have to say. I saw the word color come up a few times. Did you pick the color blue because of the Blue Jays in the World Series against the Dodgers? Sure. I will say yes, just because the Toronto Blue Jays are obviously very close to us. Did I watch that game? No. Do I follow any sports? No. Benji just asked, hey Gabby, is this my exact car? Well, that depends. Did you just buy a Seltos LX all-wheel drive in dark ocean blue from Brantford Kia? Because if that's the case, yes. And are you picking it up today? Because yes. Now this vehicle, it was cleaned up in our studio. I did not want to kick it out because it was raining, so I said, you know what, let's film it. And Michael said, you know what, my customer actually watches the YouTube channel. So that's awesome. Actually, yeah, he said picking one up in 2 hours. Then yes, this is absolutely your car. Congratulations, and it's a sweet ride. I will wipe down all my fingerprints so you have a proper clean car after this. Joseph said, Gabs, like your nail colors. Thank you. I appreciate that. Speaking of, the color of this vehicle is dark ocean blue. It's a beautiful metallic paint. In the sunlight, it really does sparkle and shine. Now here where we film, it's been cloudy and rainy and ugly the last few days, so I can't show you that shine, but trust me, it is there. Does it come with a heads-up display? So the heads-up display is available on the Seltos. It starts on the SX trim level. It's not the heads-up display that's projected directly onto the windshield. Instead, it's projected onto a small lens. And then you can retract it to sit back in the dash if you don't like it. I don't know, do you guys want me to talk about more all-wheel drive versus winter tires? That's one of my favorite topics. One of my best topics. I'll also talk about the 2027 Kia Seltos. I know, we just got 26 and people want to know about the 2027. So that is when we can expect a redesign for the Kia Seltos. People are saying that there's going to be a hybrid. People are saying it's going to be, super wide and super low. There's a lot of renderings online and none of them are confirmed. So please take that with a grain of salt. I do have some things that we can definitely expect for the next generation. So number one will be the software. It will change to our CCNC. You'll find that on vehicles like the Kia K4, the current Sportage, and the current Seltos. Emmerich said close the rear door. Yes, I can close it. Or did you mean? Yeah, okay. So new software, CCNC, that is a larger center screen display. It's going to be about 12.3 inches in size, and it'll have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto still, so that will not change. That will be standard on the Seltos in its next generation. And then we can also expect to see things like our push-to-start ignition, as well as remote start, and maybe even smart cruise control standard. That is often what we're getting in our shift with our new gen software. The K4 has come with all those features standard, the Sportage has, and so has the Kia Sorento. Paul said, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. It's free and helps the channel. Paul, you know what? Paul says a lot of very, very good things on this channel, a lot of smart things. I have to agree with Paul over here. Thank you, Paul. Also, as far as styling for the next gen Seltos, like I said, you'll find a lot of renderings online. None of them are confirmed. As far as the dealership level goes, we have not had any internal documents. You guys know I would share that with you. I know it's supposed to be internal, but as soon as we get the little, the little spec sheet or the little inside scoop, hypothetically, this is what we can expect. I don't have that. I would tell you guys if I did. Do you think the 2027 model will possibly be more affordable? I don't think so. It's usually not the way things are going in today's world. Maybe if they introduce a new trim level that cuts things down quite a bit, but I do not think they will. I think the LX is usually where they like to start. And oftentimes, even with our most entry trim level, you're getting a lot in the car. Like the car we have here today, there's really no sacrifice. You're not really compromising on anything. It is a comfortable car. Someone said, can you do cottage? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you drive to a cottage with this car? And the answer is absolutely. Yeah, Gabby, can you autograph my user manual? I can sign it, sure. What is the ground clearance? Off the top of my head, sorry, I didn't memorize that spec, but I believe it's about 180 millimeters of ground clearance. Let's fact check that though. How wide is this door? I also don't have that off the top of my head. It's a regular size door. So, you know, coupes obviously usually have a very, very wide, large door. This car, I mean, it's pretty standard door, I would say. Let's see if Kia Canada lists the ground clearance on their website for the Seltos. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. 180 millimeters of ground clearance. Nice, I was right. Let's check out what else you guys have to ask. Maybe just the debate as if is all-wheel drive worth it? And always the answer is going to be depends on you, depends on your driving, depends on your lifestyle. Everything is totally up to you. Now it is a $2,000 upcharge to get the LX with the all-wheel drive option. So you can get the same car with front-wheel drive and save $2,000. Now why would anyone want to spend the $2,000? Again, if you live somewhere that maybe doesn't get first priority plowing, this will help you get through the tougher situations much easier. It's going to allow you to send power to the rear, and that can help drive you through, give you a little bit more power in those situations, both, physically, because that's what's happening to your rear axle, it's getting some power, but mentally, like, I can get through that. Now, is that a downside at times? Yes, I do believe a lot of people see that their vehicle is all-wheel drive and think, well, I can do anything. Let me take this corner going full speed in the snow. And that is not where all-wheel drive helps. That is where winter tires help. So again, I definitely recommend if you get all-wheel drive, but you live somewhere that's snowy, get winter tires. Not only will your all seasons live a lot longer, but you're keeping yourself safe, your vehicle safe, and other people on the road safe. Does the spare tire have enough room for a full-size spare? Sorry for repeating the question. I'm already looking for tires. Depends on what tire you're buying. Definitely depends on what tire you are buying. I would say yes for the Seltos, but again, really, really depends on what you're getting. Does Adam just stand outside watching you talk to a camera in the Q&A section? Yeah. Yes. Checking out any other questions. Will you ever cover Genesis vehicles? No. Well, probably not. The reason why we don't do Genesis on this channel is because we're not Kia Canada, we're not Hyundai Canada, we're just a dealership here in Brantford. Brantford's actually a smaller city, so I know a lot of our viewers are outside of the country. They're not familiar with the area, but Brantford's small. It's real small. A lot of people haven't been in Brantford. Maybe they're in Toronto. A lot of people don't think about Brantford that often, but it's definitely growing. It's not like a tiny, tiny town, but it is smaller than, what people expect. Also, our dealership is quite small too. I think we have about 40-something staff members. We're not a huge store, so I do not have access to Genesis vehicles. Genesis and Kia and Hyundai, none of them give us cars to film. It's only whatever our dealership receives in inventory to sell. So that's how we get our cars. Where is Charlotte, and is she coming back anytime soon? So Charlotte just had a baby in August. She's on mat leave, so she didn't leave, she didn't quit. She's just on mat leave. She is spending some time with her newborn and of course her little girl Evie too. So she's got 2 baby girls now. Charlotte was here this morning, which is so funny. I'm like, Charlotte, why don't you come in the afternoon? Come do the video with me. But she will be here next month, November. We're going to the LA Auto Show. That's confirmed. We got our flights booked. So it'll be the dynamic duo again. We'll be covering cars together, and I'm very excited about that. How does the starting MSRP of the Seltos LX compare to its direct competitors' entry-level all-wheel drive offerings? So usually Kia and Hyundai offer a very, very similar price point for their same model or comparative model vehicles. So between Kia and Hyundai, it's oftentimes going to be, like, do I spend the extra $200 and get the Hyundai? Do I save the $200 and get the Kia? So that is pretty marginal. As far as other competitors, so things like Honda, Toyota, usually they are a little bit more expensive. Again, depends on what trim line we're looking at. But usually they're priced a bit higher. Sometimes there's the odd exception that, maybe the Chevrolet is a bit cheaper, but do you want the Chevrolet? Really depends on what equipment you're looking at and what car you're looking at. How would you compare the Seltos and the Niro as in how they are similar? So I'd say they're relatively similar in size. Of course, with the Kia Niro, it only comes as either hybrid, plug-in, or straight EV. There's no regular gas version. It's also not available with all-wheel drive, and it does sit a little bit lower too. So if you do prefer a bit more ride height and a little bit more cargo space, the Seltos is the larger vehicle, and it is the all-wheel drive option vehicle. Also styling. I will always say styling is subjective, so maybe you quite love the look of the Niro over the Seltos or vice versa. That can influence your decision too. All right, so I am going to end off today's video now, you guys, because it is 35 minutes long. Now, if you are watching this in the future, again, there was some spoilers about what we can expect for 2027. And, oh, I should also say, for the next-gen Seltos, it will be released or unveiled in 2026, but it will be a 2027 model year. So if when you Google 2026 Kia Seltos and you see anything except for what we have here today, maybe a different color, that is not right. So if you are looking online, seeing if there's any new releases about what to expect, please include 2027 as the model year. That is what we will get. We will have them hit the dealerships in 2026. That's the year they'll come out, but they'll be at 2027. All right, let's say goodbye, you guys. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe for more videos just like this. Bye-bye.